Now to the latest tech developments in the tech world. Twitter has revolutionized the way we communicate, and now they have a patent for their messaging system. They now have the rights for the technology that allows a single user to get the same message in multiple places. The Computer Fraud and Abuse Act has been used lately to prosecute cybercrimes. It was written in the 80s, but some say it doesn't make sense in the technology-dependent world we live in today. Now another man has been convicted and is going to jail. Is this justice? And speaking of cyber crimes, prosecuting them, the family of the late internet activist and innovator Aaron Swartz is in a battle with MIT. But now the university has announced plans to publicly release documents related to Swartz's prosecution. To talk all things tech, I'm joined now by John Herman, editor of BuzzFeed Tech and RT producer Bob English. Welcome, gentlemen. So I'm going to start off with you there by talking Twitter, starting off with John, excuse me. Today is the site's 7th birthday, and the social media company has issued a new patent, and this patent covers a way to send messages to the same person on several different platforms. What is this all about, John? Because is this something really special? It seems like we have that technology already.
Right. Twitter's patent is written like a lot of software patents, which is to say it seems too obvious to be patentable. But Apple's got tons of patents like this. Twitter has a few already. For example, Twitter owns the patent to pull to refresh. You know, when you pull down your message list and it refreshes. Twitter is unique in the tech world in that it's sort of, it has set itself against the general movement of aggressively enforcing patents. It has said in the past and in relation to this patent that it will only defensively use its patents. It's hard to imagine someone suing Twitter for operating a Twitter-like service, but patent trolling is an increasingly serious issue in tech, so it makes sense for them to get this patent.
What do you think, Bob? Could this have an effect on innovation in social media?
Certainly, because a patent is a form of monopoly privilege, and even if it's only temporary for a certain number of years. So Twitter is saying that they're going to use this as a defensive measure only. Well, what does that mean? I mean, would they go on the offensive with it? I'm tempted to think that if a competitor sprung up with a similar business model, that they wouldn't hesitate to use it if they got big enough.
All right, I think that's what happens in these bills. We're going to talk about it later, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Some people say that that is too vague and not specific, and worry that this broad language could lead to over-prosecution in certain instances. And actually, that's exactly what some say happened to Andrew Arnheimer, a 27-year-old computer hacker known on the internet as Weave. He was just sentenced to 41 months in prison for discovering a security flaw on the AT&T website. John, is this fair, or is this the sign of another law that is out of date and needs to be updated?
I think this story is getting lost a little bit. Weave, because of his reputation as a hacker and sort of a bit of a troll, is like not the most sympathetic figure in a situation like this. But what he did with AT&T was actually in many ways a service to the company and to customers. He exposed a security flaw, and he reported it maybe not in the most responsible way. He went to the press and he shared some details of the exploit with other hackers. But there aren't really clear signs of malice in what he did. And I think some of that's getting lost because of his personality and his reputation. I think the laws under which he's being prosecuted are overly broad, and they're being interpreted in an extremely broad way. And there's a direct line you can draw between what's going on with Weave and what happened to Aaron Swartz.
And in some cases, companies pay for somebody to point out these security flaws, right?
Right. Had he been on AT&T's payroll, he could have been making 6 figures doing the same thing.
All right. I wanted to turn the conversation now to Aaron Swartz. As you mentioned, John, there is a link there. Aaron Swartz faced decades in prison. He allegedly broke into the MIT computer to make academic journals public. And after he took his own life, many say prosecutors went way too far in pursuing him. Now MIT is making documents public. What does this mean for the case, Bob?
First, they're not making everything entirely public, and they're redacting certain names, and there's a bit of a fight going on. The judge in the case actually has discretion whether or not to release this. So it's not a completely transparent process so far. So is it fair? We don't know. That's up to the judge right now.
All right. I think just 30 seconds left. What do you think this means for the case, John?
I think more than consequences for the case, this will have consequences for MIT from a PR standpoint. I think they're doing this to distance themselves from what has been, a tragic and very public spectacle. They have repeatedly tried to sort of disown what happened, and I think they may be using this as a way to sort of further distance themselves from what happened to Aaron.
I guess we're going to have to wait and see. Gentlemen, thank you both for weighing in on this Tech Talk today on this Thursday. That was John Herman, editor of BuzzFeed Tech, and RT producer Bob English.